Hello everyone, welcome to 10 Backward. I'm one of your hosts, James Rohling, and of course, we have my awesome co-host, Ron McAdams. Ron, say hello.
Good night, Gracie.
Oh, well, that's all we have tonight. Thanks for sticking around. Next week, no, just kidding. This is 10 Backward. This is a awesome discussion show where we talk about Star Trek The Next Generation, but with a little twist. What's the twist, Ron?
The twist is, I could not stand the idea of watching Encounter at Farpoint as part of this viewing project, so we decided to start at the end and work our way backward to the beginning.
So wait, so this whole thing is predicated on the fact that you really just don't like Encounter at Farpoint?
It's okay if you hate Star Trek and love DC Fontana.
Wow, okay. Well, why do we call this 10 Backward?
We call it 10 Backward because everybody knows about 10 Forward, but since we're moving backward, why not just be smartasses?
Exactly. And speaking of smartasses, we're looking at a doozy of an episode today.
Oh, we certainly are. James, what if I wanted to contact you on the internet to tell you about how you're doing a terrible job with this podcast? Where would I reach you at?
Oh, you can check us out on Facebook. We're at Facebook the groups, or it's a page, right?
Yeah, it's a page.
We're on a Facebook page. Yeah, just search.
It's one of those page groups.
Just search 10 Backward. You'll find us there. You can also find us on YouTube, where we upload our episodes, iTunes, and if you wanted to contact us, you can contact us at 1010backward at gmail.com.
Do you have one of them their Twitter pages?
Yeah, at Spleenball, SPLEENBALL.
And I'm at Tyrantulas. So, now that we're in it, now that we've got all the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about this week's episode.
Oh, God.
What a doozy.
I had trouble with this episode so much. What is it called? Emergence?
Yeah, it's called Emergence. It's another one of those damn Brannon Braga episodes.
Yeah.
He loves these little episodes where it's a one-off thing, and that's okay. But what fans of Next Gen remember this as is we're headed to New Vertiform City episode.
He was the prospector or something, and then the conductor of the train.
Yeah, and he looks like a person that's like from Riders in the Sky.
Well, no, he actually wasn't this the same guy who was in Blazing Saddles? Wasn't he one of the characters of Blazing Saddles?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. He reminds me of the guy who goes, "Oh, prairie shit."
Oh, yeah, that guy. But it's not that guy. It's that guy.
He's got the same kind of cadence.
It's like if that guy was busy, they called this other guy.
Oh.
But we'll get to him here in just a minute, though. So this week with opening up, we've got the teaser, the pre-credits teaser. You've got Picard and you got Data. They're on the holodeck, and he's practicing a scene from The Tempest.
Yeah, it's Data playing as Prospero.
Yes,
and
he's like, now my charms are all overthrown, and what strength I have's my own, which I am most faint. Now 'tis true, I must be here, confined by you.
And Picard is like, I can't see your pale ass. Can we turn some light up, please?
Yeah, he's like, I pay the fucking power bill, man. Just crank the lights up a tiny bit.
So after he complains, Data has some questions about Prospero, and they start talking about Prospero. At this point, I was watching this with my wife, and who's a theater major, and she goes, "Oh, I get what the scene's about. It's giving Captain Picard something to talk about because he knows everything about Shakespeare. The actor does, at least."
And that's it's playing to
Patrick Stewart's
strengths.
Yeah.
But it's funny, though, and that's the thing about Star Trek, because it's like, if we're out of plot, if we're out of exposition, then we just Shakespeare it.
This is something I've always had trouble with Next Gen, is there's only culture between, like, 1400 Earth and 1990 Earth, and that's it.
Well, that's I guess in these people's mind, because the whole premise of Star Trek is sort of just the nuance of learning new things, like the idea that we're just going to drive around and see if we can see some cool shit. And so nostalgia plays a big part of that too. So if you think about it in the bigger Star Trek universe, to nerd out for a second here, the 1990s that's the beginning of the eugenics wars that brought around Khan Noonien Soon and all that. So probably in their mind, this was a golden time for humanity before the Third Nuclear War, which starts in 2046 or something.
Maybe sooner than that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You never know with what's happening in the news. Those clowns in Washington, what a bunch of clowns.
insert non-specific joke about parties here. But you're right about gold. It's the golden age of human culture, I guess, is what they see it as. But part of me still is like, don't they just have oldies? Is there like an oldie station from people down on like in San Francisco? Like, they hadn't just gotten rid of music, had they? Like modern music.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that they wanted to take a chance and show us too much, because when they do it and it's squirrely. Like, there's an episode where Worf is like on in some Mos Eisley cantina kind of thing, and it goes up to the singer who plays the keyboard and of course has 4 arms, and he's like, play some Klingon opera, and it's just like the dumbest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, well, we're not gonna step on our dicks with trying to make future music. So
I was actually gonna say something about Worf again, like when he. Well, you know what? We're gonna save that for that episode. Let's get back to this one. So they're talking about the Tempest. They're having a little conversation about the character Prospero, when in the distance they see 3 lights.
So they see the light in the distance. They start questioning each other, and all of a sudden, it's a HO scale train flying at them in a special effects shot.
And they kind of have that, "Hey, is that your train? No, is that your train?" kind of conversation for a little second. And the computer fails to end the program with the locomotive coming at them, and they jump out of the way
in front of a green screen.
Yeah,
or actually a blue screen, because you can absolutely see the matte lines on this. It's like it really is not a very good effect. So you see the matte line around them because they're obviously on blue screen, and there's like an HO train scale and some second unit footage.
It's good stuff. It's golden. Yeah. And so Picard, they push each other out of the way, and Picard has a cut or something on his face, right?
Yeah, that's where we pick up after the intro. So he goes to 10 forward, and he's down there, like Beverly is like fixing his face up, and Data says, "Okay, well, we figured it out. This train was part of one of Dr. Crusher's programs. It's a recreation of the Orient Express, and there's some kind of problem with the holodeck, and we don't know exactly what's going on." So, but Picard says, put an out of order sign up on the holo shed so that, we don't accidentally have any paternity suits or anything in the next week or so.
Yeah, you don't want your last chance?
Yeah, why don't they look?
Why don't they? And so in the sick bay, they're talking about her program of the Orient Express, and they're like, why don't we just go on let's go on the ship to find out what this program's doing.
Well, first of all, before they turn off the holo John and decide that they're going to go ahead and Data, when you got 10 minutes of time, figure out what's going on with this. But in the meantime, we're surveying these sectors, trying to find planets that people, I guess, can maybe use as colonies or something. I don't remember exactly what they said, but basically Picard gets called up to the bridge, and Riker is up there like putting his leg up on something, because that's just what he does.
Yeah.
And so they're mapping these stars, and all of a sudden the ship just jumps to warp at like warp 7 or something.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of looking at each other like they don't know what's going on. They call down to engineering, and they're like, "Geordi, what the hell's going on? You're gonna have to lay off the clutch here."
Yeah, and Geordi's like, "It's not me, man. I don't know what to tell you, but this isn't me, and we're at warp 7 or something, and I don't know. Sorry. So how are you up there?"
It's a boring conversation anyway. We got company. So he's like, well, we're just driving, and I can't do anything about it. I can do an emergency core shutdown, but it's going to take like a week to get power back online. So basically, they're like, well, I guess we're along for the ride for a minute to see what happens. And they warp along for a couple of minutes yet, and then all of a sudden, boom, they stop, and they're like 30 billion kilometers from their starting position. And he calls down to engineering and says, Geordi, good job. Be sure to go ahead and do another Caesar reading Rainbow. And
again, he's like, sure, I didn't do that again. Sorry. What the hell's going on?
So they start scanning the ship or something?
They find something, but they start crawling through one of the ducts in the ship because they're like, well, we got to check out this panel. And it's Geordi and Data, right? But before that...
Yeah, but before they do that, they're like, why did we jump to warp? And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they science it up that I guess there was some little flux in the space-time continuum or something that happened.
Oh, yeah, there's some kind of theta flux.
Yeah, and their ship was like, we're not set to scan for that conveniently, but had we stayed like another 2 nanoseconds, the ship would have exploded. It would have caused like a resonance reaction in the engines, whatever the normal thing is. It would have pressed the shiny red button. Yeah, and we would have exploded.
He's like, sir, we can't scan for that, but fortunately, we're able to scan for that. Yeah. There's a theta flux.
Yeah, thanks to the script, it says that this is what happened.
Pretty much. You can see if you watch really closely, you can see Geordi holding the script behind his back as he's talking.
You see him kind of glance over his shoulder. It's some kind of theta warp thing.
And so then Data, the ship stops.
Yeah, so now they're crawling through the Jeffries tubes. They're trying to figure out what happened, and they're like, oh well, there's something localized at Jeffries tube junction 57 and 32 or something. Go fish. So they crawl in there and they're going down because it's a nice cheap shot to show.
Yeah.
And what do they find?
They open up one of the panels and there's a new circuit node made of it's like a Technicolor circuit node. It's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor circuit node, and it's going all which way. Yeah, and they're like, well, what the hell is this? Is new. So they go to try to do some kind of test on it, and then a force field just appears right between them and the node.
Right, and it's because something's trying to protect whatever this new little bit of light piping, or maybe they just went down to the local neon place and said, hey, we need this. We need this thing for a TV show, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you which one.
But we need about, 10 yards of it. Can you make that happen?
Yeah. So there's a force field, and Data, of course, is like, it's protecting itself. And it's like...
you know that.
Yeah, how would you just know that? I guess he read the script.
I guess he did. I do find it funny where Data is probably the only one out of anything in Star Trek who will automatically come to a conclusion with no data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of a misnomer for himself.
He certainly does jump to a lot of conclusions, and they typically tend to be the right ones. Except for the one time where they took his advice and the Enterprise kept blowing up. But that's a totally different episode.
That's different. It's apples and oranges.
That's a good episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't even know what season it's in. It's probably next season. But it's got Kelsey Grammer, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's the captain of the ship, and there's a couple of easy
because
he's
like
on the bridge.
he's the captain of a ship, but it was way previous before them.
Yeah, and it's his first mate is kind of this very thin, effeminate guy who did the voice of Abe Sapien. It's amazing.
Yeah,
always wanting it's the tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah,
the USS Fraser.
There's a dog that won't stop sitting on the old man's lap in the front room.
I know, it's just great.
I get it, yeah.
Can't wait.
But, yeah, so tune in this Friday for Frasier in Space.
Yeah, Space Frasier.
Boldly going to Seattle.
So, back at it.
Sorry from that horrible non sequitur of nothing.
All kinds of things to edit out now. But in engineering, Geordi and Data are talking to Riker, who probably, again, has his leg up on something. That there's these nodes that are forming all over the ship. And so there's a little display on the wall panel there.
Yeah.
That basically shows, like, it looks like the ship has, like, you know, rickets or something. Because there's, like, just permeating... It looks like the ship has fibromyalgia, because it's like everywhere. There's like little tendrils of stuff going on, and they're like, we think the ship is becoming self-aware.
And of course, I love whenever they talk about self-aware computers to Riker, because even though he's looking at a self-aware computer, he's like, that's ridiculous.
I know. It's he's like, if I can't press it in the small of its back and turn it off, I don't trust it.
He immediately just totally is like, whatever. But the nodes are starting to detect threats, and which trips defensive systems, and they go back into warp.
Yes, they go back into warp. They're trying to... the ship is zooming off in a new direction. But right about this time, they realize that... 10 Forward has become this nexus, basically, of all of these different light pipes kind of talking
holodeck
to one another. Or did I say 10 Forward? Sorry. Yeah, the holodeck. No. So they're like, we got to go back to the holodeck.
Specifically holodeck 3.
Yes. So they head down to the holodeck, and they hop on there, and there's the... they enter right onto the Orient Express.
Yeah.
And there is just a litany of weird characters there. Like, there's a knight in shining armor.
Yeah. There's a farmer. Isn't there like a... people are like putting together a jigsaw. I remember that.
Yeah, they look like 1920s flapper kind of people.
And a Don Draper looking guy.
Yeah. And there's also a... gangster guy that kind of comes in, and is this the point where they kind of like have the little confrontation with the people, and they're like,
well, the conductor keeps asking for tickets, and
but that's important though, because the conductor guy, as you were saying earlier, that's David Huddleston. That's the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have a job, sir?
Yeah.
So it was great. It was nice seeing him when he was, not 850 pounds. He was just kind of at a move under his own conveyance sort of weight.
Yeah. And the farmer guy is talking to the conductor, the hayseed. He's like, never been away from home. Now I'm going to Vertiform City. And so the conductor is like, I don't really know about you guys. They pass by him, and they find a large concentration of nodes. Yes.
They find nodes, like there's a power junction or something where they're all able to communicate. And that's something else that's kind of important. Because you were talking about the girls, or like the flapper kind of ladies, sitting there putting together something. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you don't see kind of what it's eventually going to be, but you see some of the pieces have... sort of images on them that look very much like the nodes that they're kind of popping up around the ship.
And so Riker tells Data that he needs to do something to the holodeck grid to
depolarize the entire...
Depolarize.
Yep.
Yeah. And they try to open up the floor access, but the conductor is like, no, get away from there. I want your tickets. If you're on this train, you need to have your tickets. And Riker's like, well, we don't have him in our compartment. We left him in our compartments. Worf, the dumb bastard Worf, left him there. Shame on Worf for leaving the tickets, pretty much. He really kind of hangs them out to dry, and Worf's like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. He kind of has a look on his face, just like, I've been a lieutenant like the entire run of this series. What am I, your porter?
Yeah.
It's like, go get your own damn tickets.
It's like, yeah, there are several times where I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
With how they treated Worf.
So, poor Worf, they bail, they go back up to the bridge. They kind of debrief.
Well, before that, the train engineer enters the cabin.
Yeah.
And he's like, leave them alone. They're helping us. We're trying to help. Leave them alone. And the conductor says, no, go back to the engine. This has nothing to do with you. And the engineer says, they're trying to hijack the train. And the hayseed is like, who? But then the engineer is shot by a hitman, or like he's the mafia guy.
Yeah.
There's stepping into the compartment behind the engineer.
Yeah, the guy, the train engineer is standing there, and he's looking at our bridge crew, and he looks like one of the guys from Riders in the Sky. And he's just looking at him. He's got like big bug eyes and like the little John Lennon glasses on. And all of a sudden, you hear the shot, and he's shot in the back, and they're like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, and the console that Geordi is working on explodes. This is back in engineering. So once they shoot the engineer, they flash to engineering, and you see Geordi get thrown away from one of the consoles.
Right. It's a super Star Trek-y thing. The console explodes, and everybody just gets up and dusts off their uniform and goes.
We're fine. We had to wait for the camera to stop shaking.
Yeah.
And so they're back on the train, and the conductor's he operates an emergency brake, and the Enterprise goes back into warp. And LaForge says warp controls are burned out. We can't do anything to stop the ship. And back on the train, Data is like, oh, we've changed direction. Which, again, how does Data know they changed direction from inside the holodeck?
He must have brought up his internal compass.
Okay.
He must have launched his compass app and just decided to take a reading at that exact moment. But I think it's right about that point that we get introduced to the brick, which makes no damn sense and never pays off, and is just like something where it gives them an excuse to split off into two teams here in a minute.
Well, the hitman goes up to the engineer and takes a brick out of his uniform.
Right, because he had the brick.
Yeah, and he says something like, the conductor says you need to take care of this thing. Don't lose it. Take care of it. And the conductor asks them if they're going to leave voluntarily, and if not, they're going to have to go by force. And Data tells Riker that the
safety protocols are off, so of course,
safety protocols are disengaged.
Conveniently, we can get hurt in here, so we're going to have to do what these guys say, or there's going to be trouble.
Yeah. And then we go back to engineering, and Data and they leave the holodeck, and Data and LaForge notice that the number of nodes has just jumped up considerably.
Yeah, and then they're also starting to do comparisons, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what does this remind you of?" And it's like, of course, it's like Data's neural net. Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, maybe the ship is trying to become an emergent intelligence, which completely shifts how they start addressing this. Because at first it's like, it's one of those Alien Invader episodes. And then it shifts into hey, this might be like a new life form, and we need to if it kills us, that's okay, because we, you never know, this might be like...
We're stepping on its ancient burial ground as we speak. So
right.
If it wants to decapitate us, it's well within its rights.
Right.
No, hey, you're not going to get an argument from me. I'd be pissed too.
They share this information with the rest of our regular sort of bridge crew, and about how it's an intelligence forming. And since Troy hasn't done anything this episode...
This made no sense to me.
No, and it doesn't, because it's a computer. Are you just going to go talk to the computer?
Because
you could do that really anywhere. So, but she's like, hey, I should go with you back to the holodeck, because I can, talk to the computer and see how it's feeling. And if it is like an emerging intelligence, maybe use some of my psychiatric training to maybe figure out what's going on. Technobabble.
Tell me about your father.
Right.
And the node doesn't say anything because it's a fucking node.
Right.
But yeah, she's like, I could. I'm like, did Betazoids all of a sudden be able to read into androids or that kind of thing, because that her whole like you said, she has nothing to do. We need to have something for her to do, and her whole injection just seems so forced. It might as well just send Beverly Crusher in there too, because she wouldn't be able to do anything except, hey, if they get shot, she might be able to save their life, and that's about all she would be able to do.
Well, you can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'm doing the thing where Beverly Crusher holds the prop for a tricorder and just scans it up and down and just looks worried. And
oh no,
that's everything.
No.
That's yeah.
Oh no,
it's something is wrong, Captain.
And I don't know. I have no idea how this machine works.
I broke this prop. Can I get the prop guy out here? So they all go back to the holodeck. It's Troy and it's Data and it's Worf. And Troy sits down and is trying to talk to the ladies about the puzzle, and they're like, or he's talking to the hayseed or something, and it's like, hey, like, what is this picture of? And they're like, I don't know, I just know it's important.
It's a puzzle. No, I know it's a puzzle. The hitman and the cowboy guy are playing cards, but the funny thing is the cowboy guy's tied up to the chair, and all of his cards are laying down face down, and it looks like the cowboy's just playing, or the hitman's just playing by himself, and he's trying to talk to him about what's going on, and she reaches for the
brick,
the brick, and he gets really like, oh, don't touch that.
Yeah, it's important, lady. I don't want none of your lady germs on it.
We got to get to Keystone City, which is where everything begins.
So she flips over the cards, and it's that same picture of like some super node thing. So it's like some weird thing where this is the dreams or the core consciousness of this emerging intelligence. So we're looking in on like what its thoughts are, and everything in this little dream sort of basically mirrors something on the outside, where you've got the knight and the mafia guy, or sort of like the defense network of the Enterprise, and the hayseed is basically all the writing of the 7th season of Star Trek The Next Generation. And so it all kind of builds, and they stop at some, like, they're like, oh, well, yeah, you just said a Keystone City. So they stop at Keystone City.
And the conductor asks for their tickets, but since they don't have their tickets, they have to leave.
So they kick him off, and they basically...
Well, the hitman leaves, and Troy is like, we gotta follow them. We gotta follow him. We gotta follow these guys. And Data and Worf are like, cool.
So they follow the guy. Or actually, it's... they all three get out, and they follow him. Because Data is still trying to figure out where this power junction thing is. So that way that they can just turn off the power to the holodeck and try to get control of the Enterprise back. And he finds it, and it's like under a manhole in the middle of the street. And then he's looking at that, and then Troy and Worf follow the mafia guy, and there's a brick wall, like of some new construction or something, and there's like one brick missing in the middle.
Yeah. And the hitman walks up to it, takes out the gold brick, and puts it right into the thing. And she's like, what is that doing? And he says it's laying the foundation, with whatever that means, again.
Which, I mean, I've seen this episode a number of times over the years. I still have no idea what this foundation... Maybe this just represents some new evolution of this emerging intelligence or something like that. But in any case, they're standing out there, they're watching it. Data, in his little area of the holodeck, they're probably standing a foot apart, just can't see each other because Star Trek. He is trying to turn this thing off, and when he's turning it off, the ship starts going crazy, and it's like the ship's shaking and all kinds of shit. And then here comes a taxi down the street that's going to run Data over while he's working on this thing. Because this is what passes for humor on Star Trek, he is talking to the other people, and they talk back to him, and then he has his hand out, and he's holding the bumper of the taxi. And it's like the tires are squalling and stuff because it's trying to...
And the driver's like, what? Huh? What's going on?
Yeah. Like he's pissed. He's honking his horn. He's like, I'm just trying hey, I'm driving here.
And at that exact moment, LaForge says Cargo Bay 5 has depressurized. He informs Picard that the cargo bay has depressurized, and everyone needs to get out so they can establish a containment field. they're figuring out that the transporter and the replicator are starting to work on the same power grid.
And they're randomly making things, and there's all kinds of transporter activity, there's all kinds of replicator activity. They don't know what it's transporting, where and when, but something is going on. More and more systems are being affected by this weird sort of occurrence.
It's so odd. And in Cargo Bay 5, LaForge finds a strange object that looks exactly like the playing card. Or no, the picture of whatever they're putting together on the puzzle on the holodeck. And there's this bright light at the center.
Yeah, don't forget, somewhere along the way, too, the brick wall fell down on Troy. So Worf and Troy had to go back to sick bay, and her face is kind of hurt the exact way that Picard's was earlier in the episode. It's like they bought one facial appliance and they just used it twice.
This is season 7. We know this is our last season. We can't spend any more money on this. So use the exact same facial applicator for any kind of hurt faces this episode. Here's what I think is interesting, though. And when they go to Cargo Bay 5, and there's something I noticed glaringly, is they don't have camera to video from within the ship, which surprised the hell out of me. I had never thought of this before, but they don't have closed-circuit TV or anything on the inside of the ship.
Well, they do when it's convenient, but if I want all of my bridge crew to go down to the cargo bay, the only way to really make that like a necessity is to just move everybody down there.
Yeah, but you'd still want to get first-hand look at it. But then Picard is like, "What is it?" And LaForge is like, "I really don't know." And that's the point where I'm like, wait, why doesn't he have like a camera or something?
Yeah, why did we all just come down here? It's like this thing, just looking at it could give you space aids. But we're just going to bring down like all of our A-level players and just have them be completely exposed to whatever this phenomenon is.
Yeah. And so we're getting into Act 4, I think, where Data depolarizes the power circuits, and this object in the cargo bay is growing taller. And this is when he remarks about the replicators and the transporter systems have merged to create whatever he's looking at. And the ship starting to having massive power fluctuations. And I think he reports that something about the ship is losing structural integrity.
Yes, because whatever is happening to this entity is directly tied sort of to the survival of the Enterprise and its crew. So this thing, it's not doing so hot. Is this the point where they kind of like start siphoning something off a star or something?
Yeah, they talk about it's like some kind of binary star they need to go to.
It's some manner of like, hey, this is the whole thing with the vertiform city stuff, because there's it's a vertion particles.
Yeah.
Oh man, brain wave there. There's these vertion particles that are part of this star.
Yeah.
So the Enterprise is parked right out in front of this thing, and it starts siphoning off all of this stellar material.
Yeah.
Because I guess this is what this entity needs to eat and to grow. So it's starting to do all that, but it basically exhausts the supply of the particle from that star, and that's when the Enterprise starts shaking and going nuts, because this thing, I guess, was thinking there was going to be a lot more food, and it just wasn't, and it was at like a very critical stage of development. So back on the holodeck, the little virtual characters have no idea what they're going to do, so they decide that they need some help. So they're like, Data, with your skin so white, could you fly my train tonight?
This is also the other part where I said they really treat Worf like shit, because this is when they're like, "Oh, Worf, we need some help. Go into the engine because the engine's running out of steam." And so he has Worf shovel coal into the steam engine, and the guy's just in there like, "I couldn't have done this myself at all. You're doing a great job. I'm sure this is gonna."
Young man, I just had back surgery. I really appreciate what you're doing right now. So Worf shovels in like 2 things of coal, and in this virtual sort of like meta world that's in the holodeck, that it's just enough to get them by so that they can do the next thing. So they get, is this the point where they get Data in there and they're like, hey, go ahead and drive? Well,
that's a little later, because first they realize that they have to go to a white dwarf star called Tambor Beta 4.
I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah. And the conductor is like, you're doing a great job, Worf. He's doing a really good job of positive reinforcement of Worf shoveling coal into the steam engine.
And if you look at Michael Dorn, because there's a real fire there, and he's doing real physical labor, and you got to think this is on a sound stage somewhere, and it is probably like 300 goddamn degrees there. And if you look at him, he is sweating his balls off. Like, the Klingon makeup is just ready to slide on off, because it's like right underneath it. It's just like his forehead. It's like a whore in church, man.
His wig is starting to peel away, and just nasty. Oh God. No, they figure out they got to get to the star. And when they reach the star, the Riker says the ship is using a modification of their tractor beam to collect these particles from the star. That's when Picard makes the connection between Verdion and Vertiform City. Yeah. It's like, all right, we gotta get these guys to Vertiform City now.
So we need to take them to, like, since this star didn't have enough. Because, I jumped the gun earlier.
Oh, that's fine. And this was let's just clear the air here. This was a very confusing episode, in my opinion. And to get some of this straight, I had to write some of it down. Because I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm watching at certain points. And this is not... Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to, like, cut into final thoughts, like, in the middle of this. But this was a confusing episode.
It was, and I even took some notes too, and then in preparation for us talking tonight, I looked at my notes, and even that didn't make any sense. I was like, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, there ain't no damn way that this is what this episode was about, was it?
Seriously, like, I followed All Good Things way better than I followed this, and this is only one timeline.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just not a well-crafted episode, and I think it kind of shows just in the storytelling, because it's a lot of, like, we had a bunch of really maybe neat ideas if we could have explored them further, but we only had 42 minutes.
Yeah. Basically, they figure out that Verdion particles, Vertiform City, same thing. And we need to collect Verdion particles so they can, in the holodeck, they can get to Vertiform City. And so they're like, we need to figure out where we can find more of this Verdion.
Well, don't forget though that after they siphoned all the stuff off, the people in the, because this is where Data comes in. The people in the holodeck, the conductor derails the train.
Oh, right.
And because he was like, hold on, there's something wrong. He derails the train. The Enterprise is all screwed up. The Enterprise can't go anywhere. Basically, these entities have committed so much of the Enterprise's resources just to moving around and trying to get to these different places that they've shut off all of the auxiliary power. And there's like 2 hours of power left or something. So now we've got our ticking clock that if we don't help these things, if we don't wrap up this episode in the next 15 minutes, everybody dies. So they go down there and they're like, Data, you gotta do something. And so that's when the conductor says, okay, well, can you drive the train? And he's up there pulling switches and moving levers, and it's like an old steam train. So somehow this puts the train back on track, and they're able to get to the Credana system to see that white dwarf star.
Yeah.
And so they get there, but the problem is it's like 12 hours away, and there's only 2 hours of oxygen. So Data is able to stop the Enterprise, and he's able to figure out maybe a different way that they're going to do something to this other, like there's a pulsar, and they can shoot something into the pulsar, and it will produce those particles as well, conveniently.
Yeah, pretty much. The McPherson Nebula, which is...
named after Elle Macpherson.
Yes. It's a very, very tall and very striking nebula. But it's a Class 9 pulsar, and they are able to produce Verdion particles out of a modified photon torpedo, which is detonated. And they just really kind of rushed the science on this one. They're like, yeah, this will work. Trust us.
Well, they painted themselves into a corner with that whole 2 hours to live thing.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, maybe there's another way that we can get around whatever this thing is. So on the train, they're like, hey, we're going to take you to New Vertiform City. So everybody is happy. They're all super excited to get moving on. Data's in control of the engine room of the train, and the Enterprise approaches the nebula, shoots their modified torpedo. Geordi's like, hey, everything's working 100%. And basically everybody on the train starts rejoicing because they're like, oh, this is perfect. This is where we were trying to go all along.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
they assemble, like after the conductor proclaims they've reached New Vertiform City, free at last. Crusher, Picard, and some others are assembled at the cargo bay to observe the new piped life form, the little nebula thing, whatever it was.
Yeah, the neon effect. It's the neon alien.
It's weird. It's hard to understand. Like, I get what they were trying to go for, but at the same time, I don't buy it. It just doesn't seem, because they've done this kind of story before, like several times, and they've done it so much better those other times. It seems like this was they had, like you said, they had an idea, they just didn't really know how to execute it.
So they're down there in the cargo bay, and this thing, it kind of starts ebbing and glowing and gets a little bigger, and then it just kind of whooshes out of the Enterprise and fucks off to wherever it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
And then down there in the holodeck, you've got Worf and Data and Troy are all drinking champagne with the people on the train, and then the train just disappears, but yet the champagne remains.
Oh. I wonder what else would remain.
Those paternity suits.
Yeah. And so then we get a captain's log supplemental. And, Picard is drinking tea, and of course, because it's Picard. And Data is like, oh, I'm going to do a scene from The Tempest. Do you want to come? I'm going to do the scene where Miranda first finds human beings. And Picard does the whole Shakespeare thing of, oh, brave new world that has such people in it. And I'm like, oh, Picard, pick a new artist.
But that's kind of the thing with this episode, though. It's about it's
full circle.
It's the because in the beginning they kind of talk about how it was the end of this era and about new discoveries and
in regards to Prospero and Tempest, right?
And this new thing, they tried to kind of build on that maybe for this episode, but it's so muddy. I guess we have just launched directly into sort of our analysis here, but it's just so muddy, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it seems like they had 2 hours worth of ideas that they had to kind of shave down and make work in 42 minutes.
Well, if this really was the overall thesis of this episode, just discussing it at the beginning and discussing it at the end doesn't really do the justice of what they're trying to talk about. They need to build off of that theme and maybe mention it again, at least in Act 2.
Do something, because it's like it's like, hey, we use this idea to justify this episode, and just in case you didn't understand what we were getting on about, here's another recap. But the whole thing about how this entity, it was like, since it used the holodeck, that it had drawn on the experiences and all of the personal logs and stuff of the crew, and how that maybe if we're good people, that this new and this new thing that we've kind of helped create will also be good, even though it's probably just going to go down and like strip life off a planet like the crystalline entity. That we're good people, hopefully it's a good person too. It's just this weird muddled sort of message, and the train thing is so squirrely. And I've seen this episode probably 4 or 5 times ever, and it's like watching it, and it just immediately it just, all the side story stuff just gets dumped out of your brain. You remember New Vertiform City is what you remember.
Yeah. I'd rather watch the Crystalline Entity episode, because that's a good episode.
If you can stand, no,
you don't
if
like
you can
that
stand
one?
Brent Spiner doing that goofy lore stuff, where it's basically like, okay, just we've turned off all of your overrides, Brent Spiner. Just act like a crazy asshole for the next 20 minutes.
Act like you did in Master of Disguise, and we're gonna have a great time.
It's gonna be great.
You're gonna laugh, then you're gonna fart, and then you're gonna like stop laughing because you're like, that ruined the moment. Just like he did in I just said it too.
Master of Disguise.
Just like he did in Master of Disguise. Which I actually, we're not gonna get into that, but yeah, I'm with you. This one. I wanted it to be better.
It's rough.
I wanted it to like the fact that this little thing, this little node is an alien, this little weird crazy straw is an alien. I didn't buy it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see the whole. I would have gotten it if it was like an actual like AI or something. But it was just floaty thing. I need this kind of food, and I'm going to go away. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they say early in the episode where it's like, is it the Enterprise that's created this new intelligence? And they immediately drop that, and it's sort of like, hey, we encountered some space germ, and it decided to use our systems to then become an entity. And it doesn't explain why it needed all this goofy stuff around the whole ship for it to be something that you could put in a hat box down there in the cargo bay.
It didn't even need the fake brick wall.
No. All of it, it's like a meta. It's like a super meta episode, but none of it pays off. Because when I first started doing comedy, jokes have to have payoffs.
Yes, they do. They need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
So, James, let me ask you this. What are we watching next week? Is it Bloodlines? Because I really hope it's Bloodlines.
I believe it is Bloodlines.
Well, you know what? As a special bonus this week, I have the trailer for Bloodlines. We should absolutely watch that together, don't you think?
Yeah, oh boy, I'm excited.
Let's roll the tape.
An act of revenge.
Act of special effects.
He doesn't blink.
Just like
Shazam!
Uncovers the son Picard never knew.
What do I do?
I hope it will give us a chance to get to know each other.
That's obviously not a real picture.
Father.
Daddy.
Jean-Luc, I don't know what I'm supposed to call you.
Before an
Fluffernutter.
enemy settles a deadly score, I demand that you repay me for my loss.
I demand that you
next
blink.
time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
So anyway, that definitely looks like this is going to be a palate cleanser after the dumpster fire we suffered through this week, don't you think?
I don't think I have anything else to say, because this was a dumpster fire and a half.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us here on 10 Backward. Once again, I'm your host, Ron.
And I am James.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.